live on Sky Sports F1.
Formula One is back. It's the moment they've been waiting for. Are you ready? It's time. Let's go, boys. Listen to the roar. Right now. Time to go racing. Box. The tyres on a charge. There is a full Ferrari.
I need more power, man.
Taylor's his hammer time. He's going for it.
Give me everything you have.
He's going wheel to wheel with Lewis Hamilton.
Live from Daytona International Speedway, we welcome race fans one and all here to the VRX-Pimax World Cup as we get set to kick off the season opener of an 8-week championship. Hello one and all and welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Pileup with Ryan Howard beside me in the broadcast booth as we get set to kick off what should be an absolutely epic round of 8 races of stock car action here on Saturday nights. Ryan, we saw what took place down at the elimination nights, but the good news is for all the drivers that were eliminated, it was all for naught, as all of those drivers are going to be allowed into tonight's race. VRX themselves have told us it was an event that was just too big to see anybody be forced to sit it on out, which is why we got a bit more than a 30-car grid here tonight. I believe 34 getting set to take it to the starting grid for tonight's season opener.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So we have a bit more of a bigger than a 30-car grid. It was a big event, and it seems so horrible just to reduce that amount of drivers. So the bigger the event, the more racing, the more spectacular that we can expect. I'm really looking forward to it. 8 weeks of action, 8 weeks of racing, and big prizes definitely on offer.
8 races on the line. We started all off here at Daytona before we swing it on out to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll run down to Atlanta Motor Speedway for race number 3. Michigan International Speedway rounds out race number 4. The iRacing Super Speedway will be race number 5 to kick off the second half of the season where we slow it on down for Watkins Glen, Chicagoland, and Talladega. Going to be rounding out the 8 weeks of fun here for the VRX-Pimax World Cup, and it is going to be a fun ride for these guys here tonight for every single lap of every one of those races. These races are short. They are sprint races, and they are some of the fastest tracks you got on the iRacing service as well.
Absolutely, and one of my favorite tracks I'm looking forward to seeing a race here is Watkins Glen. A road course, the only one, but I'm sure it's going to be good fun and definitely a nice change of pace. Something I'm really looking forward to and seeing how these amazing drivers tackle it.
Qualifying currently underway here from the Daytona International Speedway, where we get set to kick off the season opener over here tonight at at the Daytona International Speedway, and it's bound to be a fun race for these guys here tonight. You got 21 drivers that have so far put times down. Make that now 22. You still got guys that are looking to qualify, looking at the 65 at the moment of Greg Spiker, husband, of course, to Teresa Spiker, who currently sits just one spot above him on the qualifying boards. It is a 20th to a 19th position. Make that now 21st to 20th. He'll come off of turn number 4. You got the top 3 separated by under 1,000 of a second. Will Greg Spiker have what it takes to best all of them as he'll cross the start-finish line, crossing down onto that apron. He will not improve on lap number 2. He does improve on to lap number 2, but only good enough for 18th.
Yes, and currently our pole sitter at the moment is Edwin Marshall, and behind him is Aaron Smith, only separating them by 1,000th of a second, and behind him, Sean Boundy, who's put in, amazingly, the exact same time. Maybe we need another 0 at the end of the timing screen there. Who knows?
Taking a look at Derek Stanley, the driver coming on out off of turn number 4 as he gets set to try to put himself up onto the timing sheets here this time around in the number 26 car. He will cross the start-finish line and good enough for currently 28th position on the boards. But of course, you got to remember, right, that it's going to be a rough ride for these guys on that first lap, because oftentimes these drivers will take that outside line all the way around the race course just to try to build up that speed before they fire back down into the low half throughout the second lap. That at the moment is the strategy that Stanley's taking in the Tampa Bay Lightning Chevrolet.
Absolutely. The reason why you want to stay on the outside, up on the high sort of line on your outlap, is that it's going to give you the highest top speed for when you start your lap. And that is also going to give you a quicker time, which you definitely need in qualifying. If you stay at the front of the pack, less likely you're going to be in a wreck, more likely you are going to win. Simple stuff.
Coming on down across the start-finish line this time by currently sitting 29th on the boards. Where will he sit with this one? Only good enough to improve up to 23rd position. Running it down back to Lewis Meglin, though, but he will not have time to put down a timing sheet at the moment for that number 43 car, as he'll be having to start this race all the way back from a little bit further down on the running order. For now, though, we've got ourselves qualifying all wrapped on up, so it's a high time to take a rundown to show you what things are going to be looking like here as we get set to go racing then for what should be a very, very intense 45 laps here at Daytona International Speedway. And as the drivers put themselves over there on the starting grid, we'll take a rundown of how this grid's going to shake on up for us here tonight. And it's going to be E.J. Marshall on pole position for the Esports Racing Association, number 16. Aaron Smith II starts beside him on the front row. Sean Bounty's back in third with Jonathan Schwartz in fourth. Jason Days in fifth with Jeffrey Hunter in sixth. Nicholas Fontenot is back in seventh with John Hudson up in eighth. You got the likes of Jason Lyon in ninth with Justin Ritchie rounding out the top 10. Brian Hennings and Larry Bell finish it up on row number 6 for 11th and 12th position. For move down to David Collins and Guy Barrett in 13th and 14th. Corbin Himstream is in 15th with Mark Math in 16th. Chris Carroll and Sierra Clampett in 17th and 18th. Joseph McWhorter and Elise Main sitting on row number 10. Troy Tarbuck and Greg Spiker back in 21st and 22nd. Derek Stanley's in 23rd with Jim Schroeder back in 24th. Moving on down to the field, Dylan Jackson and Andrew Schluter, 25th and 26th. And from here, he was the first driver, by the way, to be over a 10th out from your pole sitter. Tight times as the top 25, all inside 1/10 of a second of the pole time. Teresa Spikey says 27th. Carson Catlin in 28th. Stephen Crone was the last driver to put down a qualifying lap in 29th place. For they got Lewis Meglin, Isaac Wilson, Joey Maines, and Joseph Seelig to round out your 33-car grid here tonight from Daytona.
Excellent. I'm a little bit surprised that Chris Carroll didn't qualify a little bit higher, because he was the winner of both the Daytona elimination and the Charlotte elimination. I was expecting him to be a little bit higher in the grid, especially as he was putting in the rapid times during practice. But, you know, it's not always about the qualifying, it's about the race. That's where the points are dealt out, and that's where you're going to get the big money.
As the field gets set to roll on now from pit road here this time around, we'll give a shout out to the guys who helped to keep the lights on here for the VRX-Pimax World Cup. And of course, it is all brought to you by VRX Simulators. VRX has been designing and developing advanced simulators for over 15 years. Over that time, they have come to understand the unique needs of every individual who purchases a VRX system. Their clients range from the home racing enthusiasts of the global corporation looking to find a comprehensive and immersive simulation solution for a variety of applications. Find out more at www.vrx.ca. And by Pimax. With their gear, you can go where no gamer has gone before. They strive to help humanity exceed its limits with the use of technology, putting users first by delivering the best VR experience possible. Find out more at www.pimax.com. By Thrustmaster, a distinguished gaming tradition for over 30 years. Thrustmaster takes pride in its core values, passion, quality, and innovation, and constantly strives to improve the realism and immersiveness in legendary game worlds by offering thrilling and truly exceptional experiences. From video game enthusiasts to casual gamers, Thrustmaster accessories for PC and gaming consoles bring everyone's dreams to life. And lastly, by Buttkicker. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software delivers the most accurate and highest fidelity sim racing tactile feedback possible via in-game audio and telemetry data. Experience deep immersion by actually feeling the vehicle's suspension, track surfaces, engine RPMs, tire grip, and more, allowing for your simulator faster driving, more immersion, and more control. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Ryan, as we get set to come on around through turn numbers 3 and 4, your last thoughts here before we go green flag racing here for the first race of the VRX-Pimax World Cup.
I am very excited. Those are the only thoughts I have right now, and I cannot wait to see these cars get going. But I think I'm more excited to see them roar and see what they can do when they come across that start zone. It's going to be amazing.
Coming off of turn number 4, this time by. Thank everyone for taking the time to join us on Green Flag TV for your source of entertainment action on iRacing.com. Pace car is down and in to pit road as we go Green Flag Racing at Daytona. As we cross the start-finish line, it is Sean Bounty to lead the first lap to green as the 95 car tries to push him from behind. Jonathan Schwartz on the move. Aaron Smith the second, falling back, though, to the top 5 positions here, right on that bubble spot as he run it back down, and that turns 1 and 2 for the first time tonight.
Absolutely. It looked like a very clean lap, and these drivers are really sticking together here. It's doing very clean, good racing. It is what you would call definite pack racing. No one left behind, no one in the dust, and everyone just holding on. Apart from maybe the 43 is slightly falling behind, along with the 88.
Tell you what, that outside lane has got some speed behind it here in the early going as they've now pulled out about the top 6, all clear at the moment, all the way back to that 55 of Justin Ritchie, who currently hangs off in the 5th position. One car up into the outside wall. That was John Hudson that just clipped the outside wall of a turn number 4. We're going to be all sorted, though, as we go 3 wide, deeper in the mid-pack here as drivers try to scramble from the checkup.
Absolutely. There's a multitude of lines you can take at Daytona. It's very versatile whether you can go high, mid, or low. Unlike Charlotte, where the only line seems to be going low, Daytona, you have that flexibility. You have that ability to go up, down, left, or maybe not right. Oh, and that looks like a big crash right there.
Trouble in the background. Several cars being spun around in the multi-car pileup over on the back straightaway as drivers had to scramble to avoid the 22 of Dylan Jackson. Kind of started all of this off. You still got some drivers that are trying to get themselves going. Sean Bowden, meanwhile, will pick up the race lead at the stripe in the VRX number 34 Toyota Camry. And we are under our first caution flag, our first official points race here in the VRX-Pimax World Cup. We'll take a look back and see if we can dissect what just happened over there on that back straightaway. This was involving the 22 of Dylan Jackson, who got spun around first, and we'll back that one up just a touch more and see if we can figure out what happened to Jackson here. Oh, he's gotten a really weird incident there, I think, is to say the very least, off of turn number 2, and that's what kind of collected everybody else in behind, including the likes of Stanley, who got a bit of a big hip check here in the middle of all of this. And we'll check in on Stanley here. You'll see he's going to get collected right when one of these drivers comes sliding back up across the field, collecting a whole group.
That is a bit of a nasty one, but I don't see any sort of malice or intention in that one. I think it was just a little bit of silly racing there. But I wouldn't say anything too malicious. A bit ambitious, maybe. Lack of awareness. But as they say, it is what it is.
I wouldn't even say that. It looked like he just got himself with an extremely strange incident. The car just kind of popped around. That's definite net code there to bring us under our first yellow flag here of the evening, as some drivers think about potentially coming on down to pit road. I'm looking at the likes of Aaron Smith, and Smith will be taking us down to pit road here. Over in the likes of EJ Marshall, Barrett, Bell, Clampert, along with Maines, all making entries down here to pit road under caution flag number 1.
They must have damage, because the pit this early doesn't make too much sense unless you did take a lot less fuel, expecting a yellow flag to come out and hoping to make a couple of positions on your low fuel site. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix with Renault and that whole crash gate. But I don't think that's the case here.
I was going to say, it's actually about an exact 50-50 split. The top 16 all stayed out. The bottom 16 are all in the pit road at the moment.
Yeah. It looks like Joseph Seelig may have either a connection issue or he may have retired the car. It's hard to tell at the moment. I say give it a moment, see if he is able to connect back in. But we may have lost our first car of the race.
Be a big shame there for Joseph Seelig. He found himself down and out of the fight here in the early goings here. That's not what we were hoping to see early on, but obviously these things can tend to happen here when you get into some more wild races like we are no doubt bound to see here in the later goings here. We'll take a look back from the air at this latest incident here, and we'll see if we can't again just get another look on what happened here at the front of the field. Watch that 22 Pennzoil car, left side of your screen, up on the top shelf of the racetrack. You're going to see that car just going to jump around for absolutely no reason, completely unprompted, right there. And that is what really collected all of this. And somebody goes into that wall a ton, and that just sends this whole group spinning down to the inside. And unfortunately for the 63 car, just left with, sorry, the 55 left nowhere to go from the middle line.
That almost looks like a tire blew out, doesn't it?
It almost does. If it wasn't so sudden, I almost would have believed it.
Yeah. Well, someone's going to have a stern word with the pit crew, I'm sure, but that's very weird. I've never seen anything like that at all.
Pace car.
I'd say that's definitely a new one for me.
The pace car lights are out, so we'll be back to green this time by for lap number 6 as we'll get this field stacked up, doubled up, and ready to go back racing. A couple guys still cashed out to the tail of the field after making some pit stop runs deeper in the field here, including the likes of Troy Tarbuck collected up in the midst of all of this. Sean Bounty, though, starting on that inside line. Now, I'm not so sure if I want to be there, to be completely honest with you, because you got the likes of Jonathan Schwartz on the outside, and we've seen that outside lane can get moving if you can get enough cars formed up there.
Absolutely. If you get enough cars up there, you can definitely get it moving. But I think without the tow, you are going to be a dead duck in the water. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable. You want to get down onto that inside line at any restart as soon as possible. However, I don't think the cars to his left are going to make it any easy on him. And by the cars on his left, I mean the likes of Sean Boundy and Jeffrey Hunter.
I would certainly hope not. I would certainly hope that they wouldn't make it any easier for him at least, and that they'd be able to try to get themselves with a good run here, and we'll get ourselves rolling here real quickly. By the way, I do want to apologize. I understand the frame rate's a little bit low at the moment on a YouTube stream. I am going to try to do some behind-the-scenes work. We'll see if we can't rectify that here before too long. But for now, pace car is going to get set to come off for turn number 4 and into pit road this time by, and get ourselves back fully underway as the all right, so pace car going to duck down, and Sean Boundy, the driver, to take us back down to the green flag. This time by, we launch good, and we're back underway.
Looks like a good start. Maybe not the start that Sean wanted, but it's a start nonetheless.
Looks start like nonetheless.
A start nonetheless. It's not fantastic. It's not bad. It's pretty good. But it does look like John Swartz has lost his third position. Second position. He's dropped down in third, but he has got that inside line, and he's getting a slipstream, he's getting the tow, which I would say he ideally needs to be doing. So he's done everything right, but it looks like the car 55 has got the run on him and is looking for a move on the outside.
Couple of cars scrambling down into the infield here as he runs it back up, and we're going to be crashing a big time up at turn number 3 as we got Jason Lyon up and around and still being pinballed around as he took a wicked hit into the outside wall and then back down the racetrack. So the 121 collected in a big way. We're under caution flag number 2.
That does look like a nasty, nasty incident with Jason Lyon, the number 12 car. Let's have a look what happened.
Back it on up here in just a brief moment here, and we'll show you exactly what went down on this latest incident. And it all started again with Jason Lyon after he actually got down and off the racetrack here. So we'll get a look at this. Oh, hello, one person got to the outside wall, and he got a tip from behind. That sent car scrambling over down into the infield grass, and he slid back up and just got clobbered by just about everybody as he came back up onto the racetrack, and they nailed again by the 55, who's still left with nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think it just looks like a simple case of bump drafting gone wrong. I mean, these cars are traveling at 185 miles an hour, nearly 200 miles an hour, and the slightest wrong touches or anything like that, and cars will be sent all over the place. Nothing can be done.
That 8 car, an innocent bystander in this whole deal as one of the Pimax cars in this field eliminated from competition potentially. So you see that left rear completely demolished on Lyons' machine, and there was the 52. It was actually Lyon that gave a bad bump to the 52, and he slid down to the 24. That's what caused all of this. And how about that for the 32 car going for a heck of a save down the inside line? Let's take a look at that one actually if we can real quick and get a look on board with that number 32 car, because he had a heck of a save to the inside.
Absolutely. He may have a career in rallying if this doesn't quite work out.
We'll see if we can at the very least. I might have to do some dissecting here to figure out exactly who that was, that number 32 car, and I might actually not even be able to do so here on this one. And in fact, we will not, so apologies for that one. I would, if I manage to find that car on my timing boards, you bet I will absolutely get a replay on up for that. But for now, I'm going to be keeping things down where they are at. So while we have this brief moment here under this caution period, we're going to take a brief step back. We'll see if we rectify these frame rates for you guys over there on the YouTube feed. We'll be right back. You're watching the VRX-Pimax World Cup from Daytona International Speedway. And welcome back to the VRX-Pimax World Cup. Sorry for the slight delay there. We should be back up and running now, and hopefully things will be a little bit more improved on the broadcast side of things, as we'll be set to go to green flag racing here this time around. And I have a feeling we're going to be in for a heck of a show here tonight, as these guys are going to get themselves all sorted and get ourselves stacked up, doubled up, and we're ready to go back racing over here from the VRX-Pimax World Cup. So we'll let this thing tick on out, and we'll get ourselves back underway.
Absolutely. I don't know if you noticed, but Jason Lyon just coming out of the pits there and making sure he doesn't go another lap down. Very clever, and just to make sure he can get his foot down to the floor. But we now have a new leader, Jeffrey Hunter.
New leader Jeffrey Hunter, that number 15 car. Sean Bounty going to take up to that outside line. So we'll see what these guys will be able to do this time around. And hopefully we'll be here for, again, another good restart here. We've been having a good show so far in these opening 10 laps. We do have 2 yellow flags as it is, but hopefully that will be the end of that one, as we'll be able to get ourselves all up and rolling. So at this point, who quite knows what will happen in this race? Daytona has always been known to be one of the most unpredictable racetracks you can get on the iRacing service, and tonight it's going to be no exception.
Absolutely, it's a very fun track. Whether the road course or the oval, it always has some sort of entertainment for you to engage in, whether you're the racer or the spectator. Though I must admit, Jeffrey does have a nice livery. It's very eye-catching.
Very eye-catching indeed, and we'll continue to take a look at some of these beautiful paint schemes here as the night goes along. For now, we will get a run down, and we'll let this pace car pull down and into the pit road. We'll go back to green flag racing from Daytona. Pace car's off. Leaving it in the hands now of Jeffrey Hunter for the first time all night long. Into the Geico restart zone. We're back underway.
Absolutely. It doesn't look like he had the best of starts. It looks like second place has had actually a good jump on him.
No, not the best runs at all, as you got Bounty now moving to that outside line of the number 34 car. He's going to pull clear almost from the top shelf, being shoved by the 337 and Nicholas Fontenot back in third.
Absolutely. His main objective there is to get the jump on him and make sure he gets down to that inside line as soon as possible. But he's not... looks like he's getting a good enough bump to make it work, but it might be very tricky for him to make that move down to the inside. Although he is definitely making that high side work. Maybe it's there by choice. Oh yeah, it's definitely by design now, you can tell.
Oh yeah, Bounty is sticking up on that top side. He knows exactly that's where the run is as things stand at the moment, so he'll continue to rip that high line and make something happen here as we'll continue to power our way through the laps, closing in on 1/3 distance here so far in the VRX-Pimax World Cup's season opener from the Daytona International Speedway. Run to back down into turn numbers 1 and 2 for the 12th time this afternoon. Hunter still leads from the bottom lane, but not for long as Bounty clears again up from the top shelf. Couple drivers scrambling out behind, seeing if they can't potentially get a run going down in the middle of the straightaway, but they're not going to be able to make anything of this one. We'll rocket it back down double file into turns 3 and 4.
Absolutely, it's really interesting to see the two different philosophies of driving on a restart here, because at the last restart we saw the second place driver and the first place driver dart into the inside as soon as possible, but now we've got the second place driver here holding the outside line, the high line, and taking the advantage of the bump draft, and he seems to have pulled away really, really well, and he seems to have actually got a nice tow of cars behind him as well. So maybe he's onto something. Maybe he is the Messiah who's going to lead all the cars through the ground and through the tarmac to the finish line.
I think this kind of shows just how big of a caliber we've got in the field here so far tonight, right? Even at the top levels, you have to find it very difficult to get yourself with a run going around that outside lane so consistently. You can easily get yourself something on the straightaways, right? But in the corners, that inside lane closes right back up and eventually pulls ahead. Not here. These guys are making that outside line work a lot more than these guys have today. It's looking, if you want to get to the front, that top lane, it's where you need to be. You cannot be hanging around to that inside line like Hunter's doing. Although I say that, I believe that just was Brian Hennings that just jumped down to that inside lane. I'm going to correct myself, it was Chris Carroll that jumped down to the inside in front of Jeffrey Hunter.
It does look like it. People are starting to make moves. This is where it's all going to shake up a little bit. Maybe we're going to see some really good moves. Maybe it might be a wreck. Who knows? But I trust these drivers, and I know they are pretty talented in what they do, and they are most likely going to make some really nice clean moves. The only problem is, as soon as you go down to the inside here, you've got to rely on the bump draft from behind, because you have a big wall of air that you are going to hit, and it is going to slow you down by a huge margin.
Into the tri-oval, starting lap number 15. So far, it's been one of the most civilized restarts we have had so far here tonight, although that is not saying a whole lot when you consider just how hectic this race could easily get as we work our way deeper and deeper into the race tonight. From overhead, you can see that these lines are anything but stable. These guys are weaving all over the place, trying to make sure that they can try to stay square and get a run going. Watch that outside lane. It's going to start stacking up here a little bit. Got to have some of these guys in the back of the 55 slamming on the binders as they'll rocket it back down into turn numbers 3 and 4. But I think that aerial shot there really kind of shows that these lines are constantly ebbing and flowing. It's anything but driving in a straight line at Daytona.
Absolutely. It looks like the gamble for Chris Carroll is paying off just a little bit, because he is making positions slowly but surely. He is getting up there. He is taking all the advantage from the bum draft of the number 15 car, and he's slowly just getting through the pack. And I'd like to point out, Chris Carroll was the winner of both our elimination rounds that we were hosting last week.
Down onto the back straightaway once more. You see some of your guys further at the back starting to dissipate as they get a little bit more separate from the draft. That outside lane about 9 cars strong at the moment, but still pulling clear by 4 as they run it down into turn numbers 3 and 4. Brian Hennings up on the top shelf. We mentioned before, won the Pimax GT3 series sponsored by VRX on Thursday nights about a month and a half ago. Now he's trying to see if he can't go and get himself another win over here in the VRX-Pimax World Cup at Daytona in the stock cars. A lot of these drivers have mentioned before they are much more comfortable in stock car machinery than they are in GT3 machinery. And I think that's really showing by what kind of racing we're having here so far tonight.
Absolutely. You can see from the likes of Sierra Clampert, Brian Hennings, etc., etc. They are doing very, very well to stay with the pack and stay as close as possible with the cars ahead. It is a different breed of racing, and it does take an entirely different discipline. It requires almost a certain sense of teamwork with your opponents here as well, with the and a certain amount of trust. There's always trust involved in racing, but there's a little bit more when it comes to oval racing, and especially in NASCARs with the bump draft. Because if you do anything wrong, if you're not holding the wheel straight, you spin, and a lot of people will wreck if you are not careful. So there is that whole new discipline, that whole new element and concentration that you need to take into consideration.
A whole new element that these drivers are still going to be struggling with as the night goes along, and we can see the likes of Sean Bounty still trying to make himself up with some good speed here on that outside line. But the problem is, again, is we've mentioned this before, he's burning the most fuel running the lead on that outside line, right? He's got the most speed underneath him, and this is not going to be easy for him to keep that car up and stable. He's not pitted yet so far this race. Now, you can save a good chunk of fuel under the caution flags here yet. Is that enough, though, to see him get through to the checker flag? I'm not quite so sure it is.
Personally, I wouldn't risk it. I'm a very much better safe than sorry sort of guy. If I know that I can finish a race with about 5 more laps of fuel, I'll happily take it. I'd see that sort of extra fuel marginal. Although, of course, the absolute time you lose in the pits is very, very different, so that's the only reason you would, well, why I would ever account for it. But I can definitely see that you could definitely save a lot of fuel under yellow cautions here, and I think they may have, and it wouldn't surprise me if some drivers were very, very clever, lifting in certain places, saving fuel in other areas, were able to make it to the end on just one stop.
Bit of a scramble back towards mid-pack here. You just saw the 3 car of John Hudson get a bit more out of line, so we're getting a bit more discombobulated back towards the mid-pack here in your VRX-Pimax World Cup season opener field. And you can still see that 15 car trying to get some kind of momentum going on that inside line, but it's just so difficult. You're kind of trapped in the middle of some big fields like this one. And when you get to a track like Daytona, right, it's all about the long-term strategy. It's where do you want to put your car here in the early runnings of these things? How do you want to game this out so you can get yourself for the best possible run deeper in this race? But I think a lot of these guys at the moment, they're just trying to play that conservative game, as you mentioned before. Save a bit of fuel while you can now, so you're going to be all set to go for later. 55 going to change lanes down to the inside, or he's going to think about it, and he'll commit now down to that bottom side.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like the leader of the inside pack, the car 99, Chris Carroll, he looks like to have lost a couple of positions, maybe one, but he looks like he's really struggling to keep up in the moment. Is it that maybe because the inside line is a bit harder on the tyres, or maybe he's losing tyres? It's hard to tell. As I say that, he's just gained 2 positions.
From the air, you can see all the ebbings and flowing so far in this race and where all the switches are coming from on that timing tower over on the left-hand side of your screen. It's a constant ebb and flow of information, and all these guys are having to work as hard as they possibly can to get themselves sorted here in the early goings of this race. You also got a few drivers here that are having a bit of a hard time trying to get themselves sorted. We're looking more towards the likes of Greg Spiker at the moment, collected in the earlier incident. He finds himself now a lap down and all by his lonesome here, just trying to get himself sorted. Then you got Jason Lyon, who's also a lap down, but he's running in the middle of a pack here, so he's able to save a little bit of fuel here, but it's not by much.
Yeah, I don't think they are going to be able to save as much fuel as they need to, so maybe they are going to be required to pit. But if a yellow comes out around about this time, they will be saved. No one will have to worry about pitting under green flag conditions. In fact, you would be crazy not to pit under yellow if one were to come out right now. But what Chris Carroll really, really needs to do, he needs to find some way of making these moves.
As we got a big crash in turn 4, and 1 car up on top of the field. The 48 car sliding down. That's Joey Maines that just got up on top of, I think that might be the 25 in the background, as we've got a huge pileup over there in turn number 4.
That looked like a nasty one. It's not very often you see cars on top of cars. Whew.
Not at all. That is an unusual incident there that we've just had over there in turn number 4. The 48 car completely demolished, as it appears, and we'll try to get a jump back, and we'll see what happened to Joey Maines here to kick him up on top of these drivers. This is going to be coming on down in towards turn number 3. I have a feeling this is going to start a bit further out. They go 3 wide, and right there, the 24 hooks the 48. He gets up on his roof and then just drilled on top of everybody else, and oh boy, that is a ride and a half right there that 48 car just took as he'll slam back down to earth.
Absolutely, that's a huge one. So it just looks like, it's hard to tell from this angle, but did the 24 change their lines? Did they do something silly they shouldn't have?
Not quite sure, as was that the 24 then that hooked the 48?
It does look like 24 if my eyes are not deceiving me.
I'll try to get a look on board here with that 24 car then, and we'll see what the heck happened here. That would be Troy Tarbuck then that started this whole thing off, and it was Troy Tarbuck. So riding on board here now. Oh my, good grief. Well, if you ever wanted to see what the undercarriage of a next-gen stock car looked like, well, there you go. There's one nice up close and personal.
Yeah, it looked like looked very rough there. Maybe he was just tipping down a little bit. Maybe he put a little bit too much steering lock in. It's hard to tell, but everyone is coming in from pits right now. They're all coming in for a bit of fuel.
Sean Bounty out onto the racetrack once more as the rest of the field started to cycle on out behind, while guys like Aaron Smith are still working their way down and in for service here. So it's a whole host of drivers that have come on down to pit road this time by. And we'll get one last look at that big incident here momentarily as these guys rocket their way down and out of pit road here. And there's the 24 car you're going to watch as he gets into the 48. It almost looked like he checked to avoid the 22. He got the 8 that also got into this big time, and then the 93 took a hefty hit as well for Isaac Wilson.
Yeah, it just looked like the number 22 car just bobbled a little bit. He sort of waved down, and it looked like the 24 just overreacted ever so slightly. But at these sort of speeds, I'd be pretty scared as well, and I would want to avoid being tapped on the side as well.
Well, you're under caution. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's almost nearly impossible to judge how far a person's going to come, and when it comes down to your own survival compared to someone else's, you are going to think for yourself a little bit more than the other guy.
Well, we're going to get ourselves sorted once again as we're under caution for the 4th time here tonight at the VRX-Pimax World Cup season opener. We'll be back in just a few moments. You're watching Green Flag TV.
Live on Sky Sports F1.
Formula One is back. It's the moment they've been waiting for. Are you ready? It's time. Let's go, boys. Listen to the roar. Right now. Time to go racing. Box.
There is a bullet Ferrari. I need more power, man.
Okay, let's just hammer time.
He's going for it.
Give me everything you have. He's going wheel to wheel with Lewis Hamilton.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where we are still under our 4th yellow flag here of the afternoon for the VRX-Pimax World Cup. You're watching Green Flag TV. My name is Noel Rempel with the one and only Ryan Howard beside me in the broadcast booth here tonight as we get set to go back to Green Flag racing this time around. It's been an interesting first 25 laps. We're getting set to see how this next 20 are going to shake on up as Sierra Clamper has taken over the race lead, and she'll be the one to lead us back down to the green flag off of turn number 4.
Yep, Sierra Clamford, she was a participant in the GT3 series, and she said she was looking very much forward to participating in the oval racing and the World Cup. So let's see how she does on the restart.
Pace car
zone
is in.
And that's a pretty late start, I must admit. That's really not done her any favours whatsoever. But if there's a will, there's a way. Can she make it round? Does she have enough fuel to go? Because she clearly did not pit, so I'm wondering maybe she pitted earlier and took advantage of that.
Her last pit stop was on lap number 4, so it's a long way to go for Clampert as we'll run it off of turn numbers 3 and 4. This time by the Jets land in the background as we'll rocket it down to turn number 3. Didn't take long for Sean Bounty to clear into the race lead with EJ Marshall pushing him down to the turn number 3. Bounty knows the speed's on the top side, and he'll take that spot away as we run it back down off of turn number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost seems like it's not worth starting in first but now to restart. It almost just seems pointless. You might as well stay in second. But position is a position nonetheless, considering where Sierra Clamford was before. They have definitely advantage. But I do see one major issue, and that is she's on very old tyres compared to the rest of the grid, and she is going to be hemorrhaging positions if she is not careful and cannot keep that car steady.
That's the key point. If you can keep that car steady, though, even on some older rubber, you should be fine. And honestly, only having 30 lap older tires at Daytona, that's not that much. You can realistically have about 50, 60 lap older tires before you really have to start worrying here. So the tires aren't going to be the main issue here. I still think for her it might be the fuel, but we'll continue to wait and see on how that's going to pan on out. As a couple drivers scrambling off of the final corner here, as you got a few guys jumping down to the low side, looking at the likes of the three of John Hudson, trying to catch up with Nicholas Fontenot to see if they can get a run going on the inside, but they didn't get themselves established nearly enough, and now they're both going to start to lose a bunch of positions as they fall back to Brian Hennings.
Absolutely, and it looks like some of the mid-pack cars are just charging their way through it. It's absolutely amazing. None of these cars who have taken the inside line, that has not paid off at all. Something that would, in most minds, would be a safe bet is really actually been everyone's detriment for anyone who's gone to the inside. It's absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
Trouble in the background as cars getting spun around. Up to the outside wall goes Jim Schroeder, and we're still spinning down to the inside line. I believe that's actually Stephen Crone that's been spun to the inside. And it is the number 66 car going around in the big way down at the back of the field. The VRX number 66 Chevrolet going to get himself resorted to back it up. And it looks like he's taking a bit of a hefty hit as well. Might have some damage on that car. You can see the back end almost dragging a little bit, but it looks like he'll get himself moving again without too much of an incident, and I'll leave Sean Bounder to catch the iRacing safety car.
Absolutely.
It has been one heck of a race here to kick it off for the VRX-Pimax World Cup so far, has it not? I mean, this has just been an absolutely amazing run, and I have to say, this Grateful Dead paint scheme over here that we got back here, the number 15 car, it's got to be by far the most striking, I think, throughout the entire field. It's just got a vibe to it that doesn't seem to fit. And the only one I would say compared might be the likes of Justin Ritchie. We can tell what's going on with that number 55 car down there.
I do like that livery. I do, well, me as a European, we call it liveries over here. I hear you lot call it a paint scheme.
No,
right?
don't worry, I call it a livery too. I'm not like them.
But yeah, these liveries are absolutely amazing.
Can you see the eyes on that
Celebration of
55
Faith.
car back there? I can see the teeth on the grill.
I love that. But isn't Cinco de Mayo a celebration for the dead, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I believe it is. It is a Mexican tradition, if I'm not mistaken. Might be. It's either Mexican or Spanish. Could be both. I do apologize. I'm not totally up to date with cultural celebrations elsewhere in the world. But I do. It's in one or both of those places where Cinco de Mayo is the celebration of the dead.
Don't worry, viewers. I will put Nolan in for some very severe sensitivity training soon. But yeah, I thought I was going crazy there. I thought it was definitely called Cinco de Mayo. I was just a bit too scared to see if I was wrong. But it looks like Sean Bounty is definitely coming to lead, and it looks like we've got one more pace car lap until green. Who else has really impressed you so far during this race?
Honestly, Boundy. He's led the most laps by far, and he's just known where to put that car to get the best runs. Even when he's not leading this race, he still knows where to put that car so he can get himself the best run possible to get himself up to the lead as quick as he possibly can. He's been absolutely phenomenal here all race long. Why don't we take a look back here real quick on what happened to bring out this latest yellow flag with that, with, I believe, sorry, I'm trying to find it real quick, Stephen Crone. See if I can find him real quick. We'll see if we can back this one up, and we'll see what happens. What is under our latest yellow flag, as it was Crone coming on down to the 3 and 4. Oh, we got tipped from the inside and then slammed back up to the outside. And Crone slides up, hits the wall, drifts down, and gets finished off as he slid back down across the racetrack.
I almost thought that there was two separate instances there,
No
actually.
kidding.
In the same corner, so you had the two cars at the back, sort of one washed up into the other. That wasn't too bad of an incident. Maybe you lose a bit of top end speed. And then the car ahead got tipped. Let's have a look.
It was the 420 car that tips Crone, and that would have then been Carson Catlin that spins Crone down to that inside line, and I believe potentially Meglin that finished him off. We'll try to get another look, and this time from the air. This should, I think, tell the whole tale. I want to see what happened in the background here, too, to be completely frank with you. And watch the 48 car back end of the screen here. They're going to come up in a shot. It's the 24 and the 707. Yeah, right there. The 24 and the 707 get into it with each other because they see all this going on up in front of them. That's why they got to the wall, and then obviously there's nowhere for Crow to go, so he drifts down across the nose of the 24, Troy Tarbuck.
This may sound harsh, but karma. 24 washed up, hit another car, and he ended up being taken out by the car who also took another car out by changing lines directly. So what goes around comes around, I suppose.
We got one more look at this one here while we run down behind the iRacing safety car here on this one. At this time, we'll see if we can get a look with Troy Tarbuck, one of the main drivers in all of this one. On down into right there. You see it all started because he moved up because he sees this all developing out in front of him and he just doesn't know where to go.
Yeah, I gotta admit, that's a perfect reaction. I wouldn't, well, it's something I definitely would do. Maybe I would check my mirrors, you know, left, right, signal maneuver.
That'll be all fair. You're not really checking your mirrors when you got a car spinning out in front of you.
Well, usually I'm the one spinning.
Fair enough, same here.
But, yeah, perfectly valid reaction if you ask me. You see a car, you want to avoid it. But we're about to go green flag running. Cars in the Geico zone.
Spotter says green, green, green. We're back underway.
Another late start, but what situations there? They seem to be really preferring the late.
Sean Bounty with an aggressive jump to the top shelf there to cut off the 16.
Yeah, he's learned. He knows the top line seems to be working for everyone else, and he wants a piece of that pie. But could this be some horrible bad luck where he finally starts taking the high line and it stops working? Who knows?
Well, it almost did stop working in 1 and 2 at least, because when he jumped up to the top side, that stacked the outside lane up, so they lost momentum. That allowed for Hunter to pull up into the race lead, and now Hunter's clear for that lead down to the turns 3 and 4, being shoved by Chris Carroll. Now Hunter's going to go to the outside line.
Yeah, he's been a victim of the high line, and he's also been a victim of the low line. He's been trying to find the right line that works for him. But I'm very impressed with Hunter, because he did qualify 6th, but he's managed to stay consistently within the top 3 positions over and over and over again. It seems to be working for him. But it looks like the high line is now about to become victorious, unless Chris Carroll has anything to say about it.
Up to the top side, 3 wide around the outside line for the likes of Sean Bounty. Oh, here we go, trapped in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4 going around. This will be the big one, part 2 at Daytona, as the field scrambles down to the inside line. A big pile up in a parking lot on the backstretch.
It looks like he may have won it once, he may have won it twice.
We're still crashing up in the front here.
Ooh. Anyway, as I was saying, Chris Carroll, he's won it once, he's run it twice, maybe he might get it for a 3rd time. It would be an incredible start to his NASCAR World Cup Pimax Championship if he was able to win both elimination rounds and then also the first main event.
A big pile up on the back straightaway here to bring us under our 6th yellow flag here of the evening. We'll jump back here and get a look on what happened to the likes of these drivers that caused this one. You see the 15 gets into the 3, and it is just on there. Complete mayhem on the back straightaway as one by one drivers have to scramble to try to avoid. You see the 23 of Clampert spin down, and then it's going to be when Clampert comes back up onto the racetrack, you're going to see the 55 collide with her again. I don't think the 55 had a whole lot in control as he's going to drill the 23 as he comes back up onto the racetrack. And, man, that is a messy, messy incident on the back straightaway there.
It is definitely what you would call the big one. It looks like they're going for the Daytona. See, I don't know why you would want to go around the grouse. Be a bit adventurous. Go through the bus stop. Pick up a passenger while you're at it.
That's bold, though. It's some bold moves there as the caution flag has waved once more, and it has just been plaguing this race as of late. These guys have not been able to catch a break whatsoever here in this race. And again, trying to back this up a bit further as we can get a better idea of what happened. There's so much that ended up going down all at the same time. I think this will be kind of the best way we could get a look at this one here. Is this is going to be coming on down all the way into turn number 1. Watch Jeffrey Hunt here, because you're going to have Bounty go up high, right? He's done hanging around the inside of Hunter. goes with the bold move to go 3 wide around the top shelf. And then Hunter's going to get into the 3 on the inside, and that's what's going to start all this off. And I think that's just a product of going 3 wide when it's not necessary to, and it causes a big mess as a result.
It is a huge, huge mess. There's a lot of cars there. But that has also led to a very, very interesting result on who our top 5 is. At number 1, we have Chris Carroll, double winner for the elimination round. Second place, we've got Nicholas. Then third place, we have Brian Hennings. Fourth place, Andrew Schuler, who seems to come from all the way at the back, starting 26th, is now in 4th. Then we have Sean Boundy, who seems to have recovered from that wreck. He seems to be doing well and has not lost many positions whatsoever. But he has lost some positions from his original grid start, which is 3rd place.
You can see all that damage on the right-hand side, or the left-hand side of the 34 VRX Simulators Chevrolet, or Toyota, excuse me, as he comes down into turn numbers 3 and 4. So that's not going to do him any sort of favors, as Chris Carroll picking up the iRacing safety car. I believe we're going to be green with less than 10 laps to go. I want to once again shout out some of the guys who helped to get keep the VRX-Pimax World Cup a possibility here on Green Flag TV. Obviously, you got the title sponsor of VRX Simulators, and they, of course, are a huge designer when it comes to actually making advanced simulators, and one of them among them being at the Greg Moore exhibit over at the BC Sports Hall of Fame. You can obviously check out them at vrx.ca. You've got Pimax, who are, of course, putting up one of their own headsets here for the grand prize of the World Cup. You can check them out at www.pimax.com. Obviously, Thrustmaster, one of the biggest game traditions for the last 30 years. And in fact, my first sim wheel was, in fact, an old Thrustmaster back from the early 2010s. And then, of course, by Buttkicker. And Buttkicker is definitely where you want to go if you want to get yourself an extra kick in your seat like some of these drivers must have been having throughout the course of that big accident.
Absolutely. So just to be clear, the prize is on offer. First place gets a Pimax VR headset so you can see those apexes and get the most out of your time. Second place, you will get a Thrustmaster yoke for flying, so when you want to take off the tarmac and take to the skies, you have that option. And third place, you get a Buttkicker Gamer Plus, so you'll be able to feel the exit of Turn 4 at Charlotte even more. Something I'm sure many people wish to experience on a daily basis.
Do you reckon the jets that take off and land in the background here at JFK International end up using some good old Thrustmaster pilot sticks?
I would definitely say...
We looked at this before when we were waiting for the elimination race to start at Daytona. They do take off and land at that airport in the background here on the surface.
Absolutely. It wouldn't surprise me if some pilots have Thrustmaster yoke at home ready to practice or whatever, just having a little bit of fun.
Possibility.
Try to fly in simulator. It's pretty fun.
I've tried a few, but more on the keyboard side of things. I haven't been able to get into it as much to be able to actually afford a joystick for it. Pace car going to come on down and then off of turn number 4. We'll go green flag racing this time by with 9 laps remaining here in the VRX-Pimax World Cup. Green flag's out, and look out, the 909 does not get going. Stacks up the inside line. The 707 smokes the tires. One car into the grass. We're going to get ourselves surviving, though. And we're back to green flag racing, but a horrendous start there for Chris Carroll. As the caution is out, we're spinning in the background. Hunter's around again.
I've got to say, that was 100% Chris there what happened. He was way past the Geico restart zone and he did not put his foot down. He is obligated to at least start the race before the Geico ends. So there is really no one else at fault but himself there.
Jumping back to look at the replay, apologies for the voice crack. We'll look back to Jeffrey Hunter. He was the main driver that spun around in all of this. And you see the mess started up here, and then right there, Hunter gets into the grass. He's going to slide back up. The 70 gets tipped from behind. And then, oh, when you come onto the grass, you're just left with nowhere to go and nothing to do.
Yeah, not much you can do. I think a lot of that confusion was a result of basically Chris Carroll not putting his foot down as and when he needed to. Because you can see he still isn't... You're way past the Geico restart zone. You are expected, obligated to put your foot down within
right there.
The Geico restart. Yeah.
Yeah, there's when you should have put it down, and then it just stacks everybody up behind until you get this big mess.
Yeah, so to clarify for those who do not know, that blue strip you see next to the grass near the start finish, Whereas as Geico, you are obligated to put your foot down anywhere in between those lines. You can't do it beforehand, and you should definitely have done it before it ends. So it really is more on Chris there than anyone else.
Some pretty big
I know
hits.
I know I should be a bit unbiased with this, but it's hard to see it any other way, I'm afraid.
I'm board here with Jeffrey Hunter in all this. You're going to watch this big checkup start in front of him, and there's just, I mean, what can you do? You're on the throttle, and you just end up being kind of spun around in the worst way possible, and then just, man, taking a hard shot to the outside wall, and that's just not how you were hoping to have today go, was it? And we'll get a look with Isaac Wilson as well, and Isaac Wilson, I think, kind of one of the big drivers in all of this one. We're going to see as he gets up to speed, and he's going to be left with absolutely nowhere to go. Again, sees the smoke in front of him. He's going to go to the high side, and he runs over the 707. But, yeah, when Clamor comes up, hits every single car possible in that wreck.
Oh, that makes my heart break. You do everything right. You do everything you can to avoid getting into trouble, getting into any damage, and then suddenly it all comes crumbling down. You've done everything right there, and sometimes you do your best, and there's just nothing more you can do.
Man, oh man, it's not how we wanted to see this race go, and this is going to put us dangerously close to overtime. We'll see if we are going to go to overtime in just a little while. For now, though, you're still watching the VRX-Pimax World Cup for the Daytona International Speedway on Green Flag TV. We'll be back in just a moment with the remainder of tonight's 45-lap presentation.
Live on Sky Sports F1. Formula One is back. It's the moment they've been waiting for. Are you ready? It's time. Let's go, boys. Listen to the roar. Right now. Time to go racing. Box.
There is a bullet Ferrari. I need more power, man.
Okay, this is hammer time.
He's going for it.
Give me everything you have. He's going wheel to wheel with Lewis Hamilton.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill.
Going back, green flag racing as the iRacing safety car going to pull down and into pit road here, this time by 5 laps the distance, as we're going to get ourselves back underway. Again, a late start. The Fiat checks up behind, but we're all good sailing to rocket it down the straightaway to turn number 1.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen a restart during this race where the high side has not been profitable. Although that could just change right about now.
Larry Bell takes the race lead as Nicholas Fontenot drops back out of the top shelf. We run back down into turn numbers 3 and 4 down the back straightaway, looking as we scramble for positions here. Everybody's jockeying around, heading to the inside. The 99 of Chris Carroll shoving Larry Bell up on the top side, while you've got the 99 pushing Hennigs on the inside, and it's a different 99 car. It's the 199 of Mark Mack pushing the likes of Chris Carroll up on the top shelf. Hennigs jumps up to the top line as he takes the race lead with 4 to go.
Absolutely. It looks like a couple of cars may be in a slight incident. Teresa and Sierra Clampett, I'm hearing over the radio. I'm not entirely sure though. But it looks like the high side had not paid off for the restart this time, as Andrew Schuler has hemorrhaged positions this time and getting a little bit into the wall. But cars are now evening out. We've now got a nice... Ooh.
Bit of 3-wide action, the 48 onto the apron, can't pass there. Gonna try to rejoin, but he's gonna lose time. Pushes up into the 52, down to the inside line. Maine's gonna push up right in front of traffic, and somehow we keep this race green, and we're going to maintain our run here down into turn number 4. Coming to 3 laps go this time by Hennings and Bell, side by side for the lead.
So yeah, I was going to say, it looked like a little bit of a push and shove from the 48 car just now, coming into turn 3, just beforehand. But it looks like that high line is now paying off again. It looks like the cars are now finding their pace, are finding their groove, and they are regaining the positions they may have just lost. All it takes is a little bit of patience. But with that said, we've only got 2 more laps to go, and anything can happen. We've had wrecks, we have massive position changes, people from the back coming up, commentators curse, dare I say. I would not want to repeat that though. Anything can happen in these last few laps, and I'm really looking forward to see what the result could be.
We're not going to see it here, though, as we get a yellow flag coming around for some drivers here off of turn number 4. John Hudson has gone around in turn number 3, and he's going to be the reason why we are going to bring this race down and into green-white checker territory, as Brian Hennings is going to pick up the race lead, and now he's just got to see if he can try to hang on as Hudson takes the pit road.
Let's have a look at that incident. I'm curious.
You're curious, little B, as am I. We're going to jump back and take a look at what happened here to John Hudson coming on down into turn number 3, this time by 3 wide, and he's hooked up into the outside wall by the Reams machine and just takes a very lazy slide back down to the inside. That was the 8 that he got into of Jim Schwarter in the middle of the entry into turn number 3. Oh, it almost looked like Schwarter misjudged it and tried to come down across his nose, and it just kind of went all sorts of wrong. On board Schwarter? Yeah, kind of a bit of both. One came up, one came down, and it ended up being the likes of Hudson to go around.
Yeah, 2 of one and a dozen of the other, it looks like. It's very, very tricky to judge what kind of space and what kind of area you have to work with, because it is just... It's a double problem, right? You have a couple of inches maybe to work with between you and the person you're racing, but then you're also, sadly, with all simulators, especially online, you may have to deal with the problem of netcode. And netcode, what it means is you have the potential of dealing with the game predicting where you might be and where everyone else might be. And because of that, the game might say, oh yeah, you're here, where you're actually not, and that causes visible contact, and that causes you to crash, spin, and all sorts in the worst possible way, even though you didn't even touch. Although that may not be the case here, it is something you have to be wary about, and why you should always give that little bit of extra consideration, that little bit of extra room. Especially when you're sim racing.
It's also one of those things where it can be so unpredictable as well if you get a situation like that. I've seen incidents where we had this one before where we were talking maybe an inch or 2 of contact, in which case, yeah, they were probably going to hit anyway, so it's a justified incident. Or I've seen incidents where somebody out of nowhere, it's like they hit a speed bump in the middle of the corner with over a lane between them and the next driver down. They're just going to go straight on into the wall after their car hops off the ground because it thinks somebody's doored them for some reason as they came up the racetrack. It's so unpredictable, but it's part of the deal with online sim racing. And I know some people might just try to say, oh, why doesn't iRacing get better service then in that case? I'm sorry, this is a problem no matter what sim you go to. iRacing is not immune to it either.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an inherent part of online racing, and we did actually see something like that earlier in the race. We saw where the car looked like it actually had a tire blowout.
Was it our second caution? I think that was. Let's see if I can try to find that one again.
Yeah, I would definitely enjoy watching that again.
Jumping back down, do you remember which driver it was that had that happen to them?
Ooh, that's a good question. Does my memory span that far?
I believe it was the 22 of Dylan Jackson here. We'll get a look back to this one. Yes. No, not quite that one there. I think maybe it was our first yellow flag. Well,
Was it? Yes, it was.
actually. Yeah, we'll try to back this one up here, and you'll see. Yeah, right there. There's the hip check. That's a prime example right there of when it gets a little bit out of hand.
Yeah. I will admit that's probably on the extreme scale.
Oh, yes,
that
absolutely.
Sort of net code. Definitely.
All things considered, though, I mean, it's a simulator that oftentimes you don't see it happen to that extreme very often as you might on some others. So we can give iRacing some credit. They do have some of the best in the market when it comes to that sort of thing. Well, the lights are out, and got that 2-lap dash coming on up here. Any favorites to take this win here, Ryan? Hennings or Bell from the top shelf?
Part of me wants to say Brian Hennings for his amazing performance in the GT3 series, but I'm also going to say Larry Bell for simply how powerful the high side has been. But it could also be Mark Math, who was also a very strong contender during the GT3 series. Nicholas Fontaine. Fontaine?
Fontenot, I think, is how it is.
Fontenot. Do apologise, it's very late. It's like 4 in the morning for me, so brain is mush. But I'm going to say Brian Hennings. He seems very consistent and very, very strong. And you kind of want the inside line for the last few laps. What about you?
All I know is whoever's winning this race, they're not going to be that leader when that white flag drops. That's the one place you don't want to be on a plate track when it comes down to seeing who's going to take a win in this race. Pace car's going to pull down and in. 2 laps, 3 miles the distance, and overtime attempt number 1 from Daytona International Speedway. And green flag is in the air. We're underway.
Once again, a very late start. It almost looked like it started outside of the Geico zone again.
Well, there is a reason for that one. You don't want to actually jump too early at Daytona because that way, if you do, it leaves you vulnerable to attack from the draft, and you're just a sitting duck. That's why they leave it as late as they possibly can.
Where's my notebook? I need to quickly write that one down, just in case.
Larry Bell is pulled clear with Fontenot pushing him down the back straightaway. Chris Carroll going to be the 3rd car in the tandem as he run it back down into turn numbers 3 and 4. Coming around for the second to last time into turn 3. As looking for the high side as Fontenot. Bell leaves the door open, but he's going to get back in line. We're going to come off of turn number 4 here. Do we make it back down into the trial for the white flag? Oh, we might not. Cars spinning in the background, and we're going to get ourselves sorted. They're going to save it. White flag's in the air. Final lap at Daytona. Coming down to the turn number 1. Fontenot on the outside, Carroll on the bottom. The outside lane's got to try to get themselves sorted as Carroll's going to have one chance to make this move on Larry Bell. Down the back straightaway towards turn number 3 this time by. Can Carroll make the run? Thinking about it, trying to go for the lug. Brian Hennings wants to go up top. Hennings will go up top. Hennings making the move. We're going to crash it big time down into turn numbers 3 and 4 for the final time today. Meanwhile, out of turn 4, Larry Bell and Chris Carroll going to be nose to tail, but Chris Carroll losing ground, and Larry Bell looks like might just take the season opener at Daytona, the VRX-Pimax World Cup, as we crash across the start-finish line.
Oh, what an end. I was not expecting all the cars crashing at the end there. Nor was I expecting Chris Carroll to come out sort of nowhere there. That was really unexpected.
Oh my goodness, we got a car up and over. The Brian Hennings has just gone absolutely flying down there into turn number 4. What a drive, though, for Larry Bell, who takes a well-earned race win at the Daytona International Speedway. Bell is going to be your race winner in the opening round of the VRX-Pimax World Cup.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at that last lap instant just across the start-finish line, where was the big one for the finish. Huge, huge crash.
We'll look back at all that and more in a moment, but for now, Larry Bell will be able to come on down off of turn numbers 3 and 4, and he will be able to burn it down on the front straightaway here. What a drive it was for Bell to get himself with a solid run, and now the smoke can fly as he gets set to let the smoke fly around Daytona and tear up the infield. Or not. He's going to back out instead. We'll take a look back here real quick on those last 2 incidents here coming on down in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. I believe among them you had Math being spun around for that last incident here in the midst of all of this one. And it was a pretty big incident that ended up happening over on the back straightaway as well. So we'll look back at this Martin Math incident first here as they got all sorts of kind of calamity around. There you can see Math going off and into the infield as a couple of drivers ended up spinning around him in the field. And right there, absolutely tremendous impact as one car got launched up and over. And meanwhile, Brian Henning's up in front, got collected in this big melee as they came on down in towards the start-finish line. They all crashed big time across the line in the massive pileup. How the heck, though, did Hennings go up and over? That's what I want to know. I would think if somebody came down and cleaned his clock here immediately following the conclusion of the checker flag. Yes, that's exactly what it was, and that's what sent him up and over onto his side. What a way to end out a night, though.
What a huge way to end out the night.
He's doing burnouts on the side. Look at that. I didn't think that was possible. Look at that.
He's going faster.
Who thought that would have been possible? And it keeps on going. At this point, they're just having fun out there on the racetrack. But what a night for us here in the VRX-Pimax World Cup. Let's take a rundown here of your official post-race results then from Daytona International Speedway. And at the end of it all, it is going to be Larry Bell taking the race win over Chris Carroll and Jason Day, taking it up back in third round on the podium. Andrew Schuler brings up forward to break up the Canadian podium with William Edwards back in the fifth. Sean Bounder in sixth, David Collins in seventh, George Davis in ninth, Brian Henderson back in the round of the top 10. Guy Barrett in 11th, and then Smith in 12th. One of the many drivers in the late last lap round with Corbin History in 14th, Justin Ritchie in 15th, Stan in 16th, top 18 here from Daytona. Jonathan Schwartz is back in 19th place with Troy Tarbuck in 20th. Greg Spiker is back in 21st with Sarah Clamper in 22nd. 22nd, excuse me. Nicholas Baldwin on the 23rd with Jeff Hunt, the last driver of the lap at 24. Mark Madden finishes the race one lap down, 25th with Teresa Spiker. 26th, John Hudson. 7th, Ranger News Carlot now with Joe Jackson, 28th, Steven Crone, 29th, Jason Lyon, Andrew Wilson, Joseph McWhorter. In this one, as we'll try to get ourselves a bit of a chat here with your closing drivers.
I can't hear you.
And we'll try to see if we can talk to some of the main guys at the end of this one, as it'll be the likes of Larry Bell to take us down into victory lane this time by. We'll join Larry Bell now, and Larry, my goodness, what a run for you in the number 46 car to take that car to victory lane. How's it feel to find yourself the first winner in the VRX-Pimax World Cup?
I'm completely shocked, but
We can't hear you, Nolan. Your music's too loud.
I sure feel good about it.
Well, what a wave this is come on out for us here. Is we got ourselves sorted here, and my goodness, what a way to end out the race for you. What is it like, though? Obviously, being in the lead is not a place where you want to be very often, but you find yourself obviously coming out on top as the field had themselves almost sabotage themselves behind you. What's it like when you see that smoke fly on that final lap coming on off of 4?
Yeah, that felt pretty good. And then when I looked in my mirror and I saw I had a teammate behind me, I felt pretty good about that too. I figured, he might make a move, but he wasn't gonna completely ruin my race. So I was pretty confident there.
You obviously then come on down for the next race over at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're going to hit the ground running out of here tonight. Do you plan on seeing if you can go out there and go back-to-back as we get set to take it down to race number 2 in North Carolina?
Absolutely, that'd be awesome. I mean, to be completely honest, top 5s throughout would be great. But, yeah, to come out and win again next week would be just unbelievable.
Well, thank you for joining us up here tonight, Larry. Congratulations on a very hard-earned race win here tonight, and best of luck then as we get set to go racing for race number 2 over North Carolina next week.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks for putting this on. It's a lot of fun.
Well, that was Larry Bell to join us up here in the broadcast booth. We'll move things on down here to Chris Carroll in that second position. And for Chris Carroll, we're going to turn things down to Ryan Howard as he's standing by with the runner-up.
Chris, how you doing?
Feeling pretty good, Ryan. How you doing, man?
It's, well, long time no see.
Yeah, we got
Hey.
another one in there.
Yeah, well, it did look like that maybe you might struggle a little bit. You did really well during practice, but at qualifying you were a little bit sluggish. But congratulations, you started P17 on the grid and you worked your way up to P2. Tell us, how was it like? What are you feeling? What are your expectations for this race at the start?
Well, I mean, we're racing for points, so I mean, at Daytona, I don't know that I'm racing for the win so much, other than getting the points. You gotta be consistent over this championship to win it, and top 5 or top 10, I would have been happy with. That was my goal, and we did that. So it stage 1 passed.
Nice. Well, you've done a little bit more than just top 5. You've managed to get second place, which is just one step closer to the first place. Winning both the elimination rounds and also getting second place here must be a huge boon to confidence and morale. Are you looking forward to the race next week at Charlotte?
Absolutely. I mean, these races are going to be fun no matter what, but I think it's going to be a different race there. I think the lanes tonight changed. The top was fast early. I think the bottom was fast late. And Charlotte is a one groove track, and it's going to be a little different than we saw tonight here.
Yeah. And how do you rate your chances at Charlotte next week?
I don't know. There's lots of fast guys in there. At Daytona, you don't get to see guys speed so much. You get to see their racecraft. So we'll see. I'm just shooting for the top 5s and trying to be consistent every week.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you done well. I really look forward to seeing you race some more, and I can't wait to see what you can achieve. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your second place, Chris.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it, bud.
That was Chris Carroll joining us here for that second position, and we'll move things on down now to third place runner Jason Day. And Day, I have to say, what a run for you. You come out of this thing over in that third and final podium position, and you're going to wrap out the Canadian 1, 2, and 3. Why don't you talk us through what this 45 laps of action was like for you tonight?
Well, it was a lot more eventful than I wanted it to be, that's for sure. I had a decent qualifying position where I thought I could maybe stay up front. Got hit early, some aggressive bump drafting, hit into the wall, had about 3 minutes worth of damage. I didn't want to use my fast repair, so I pitted each one of the. I got lucky. We got lots of cautions. Unfortunately, probably for the broadcast, it's not great, but I got lucky and was able to get all my damage fixed, and somehow methodically and missed the one really big wreck, and methodically made it up through. And on that last restart, the bottom line went, and I was able to make a move to get to third, and it stuck, and I was able to stay right behind Larry and Chris. So yeah, really great finish for the 3 boys from Victoria. So it was great.
A good run for you out there. It looked like tonight, you mentioned obviously being a bit lucky there on the yellow flags. You were able to get some of your damage fixed and get up there and finish that car over into third position. Why don't we talk about what the strategy was like on the racetrack? Daytona is such a big strategy race, and usually we see drivers favoring the bottom. It seemed like the top, though, was the place to be all throughout the night.
Well, the top was good, but then the top seemed to stack up really bad. Like I raced, quite a few restricted plate races. I've never had to use the brake as much as I've had to use tonight. Like I was on the brake a lot. The top side would stack up, the bottom side would stack up, and I don't know. You get such a run in these cars, and I think just guys are getting huge runs and had nowhere to go, so they're checking up. It would cause the rest of the line to check up, and I think that's what was the cause of some of the wrecks tonight.
We look forward, obviously, to North Carolina. You, among with Chris and Leia, are able to hit the ground running here for the top 3. Do you reckon you'll be able to see if you can go a couple better and maybe go for the win at Charlotte?
Yeah, at the elimination race, I finished third at that race, and I felt pretty good. If we can get some long runs, I feel pretty good. A lot of cautions. I don't really know how it's going to go on the restarts, but if we can get some long runs and manage tires, I think I feel okay there. Chris will be tough to beat, and there's a few other guys in here that are really, really good. And if I can just finish top 5 or top 10 to any of these guys, I'm happy.
It's been a great run for you out there here today in that number 52 car, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again plenty more times until the end of this VRX-Pimax World Cup in about 2 months' time. Thanks for joining us tonight here, Jason. Best of luck next week in North Carolina.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
That is going to wrap it up for our podium drivers. That's about going to be a wrap then for our broadcast here tonight as well. What a drive we have had so far from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's going to be even better when we get set to bring it all up from scratch when we get on down in towards the race down in North Carolina over in Charlotte Motor Speedway for America's home for motorsports. For now, though, here from Daytona, my name is Little Rambo with Ron Howard beside me in the broadcast booth. You've been watching the VRX-Pimax World Cup for the Daytona International Speedway. Thank you for joining us here for more Saturday night racing action. You can tune in to the OMS Xfinity Series in 2 weeks when they return. But for now, we'll be seeing you all when we go racing once again on Saturday over in Charlotte. We'll see you there.